All right, we are live on King's Plate Day here at Woodbine, and boy, has it been a day already. The 165th running of the Queen's Plate has already been won for the books.
King's Plate.
What did I say, Queens?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I knew I was going to do it, not right off the top,
We've
though.
all done it.
Oh, my God. All right, well, the King's Plate, when it is ultimately run, will be remembered for everything I think that has happened before so far. We have had multiple delays, rain, thunder, lightning. Your first King's Plate, certainly one you're not going to forget.
Never, no. We get miserable weather in the UK. We don't often get storms quite this intense. It's been an incredible experience. We've had delays to the racing. We've had some really good racing. The racing we have seen, there's a delay going on at the moment. We're hoping everything's going to go smoothly for the King's Plate. But yeah, really looking forward to chatting to some of our guests and getting stuck into what's such a historic Canadian day. I can already sort of feel the difference in the air around this place compared to previous days I've been on track. So yeah, can't wait.
Well, formal introductions to start off. Maddy Playle, of course, from the Racing Post and Tordjman AVR, and Emma Jane Wilson, our guest of honor here as a former, at the time, Queen's Plate winner in 2007. Thank you for taking a few minutes here. You've had some time here between races, and we're kind of monitoring the situation. You're the best person to ask about this. You've been in similar positions, maybe not on days quite as high profile as this, but what are some of the things going through your mind and in that jocks room at this particular moment?
Well, first and foremost, we want to have the safest surface, the safest day for all of our athletes here. Second, we want to make sure the day goes off well. You know, the fans, everyone's here to enjoy, and we want to make sure that goes off without a hitch. But right now, you had mentioned that the storm. I've been here at Woodbine for my whole career, and I have never seen a storm quite as intense and as big and as long as that one. So we're working with adverse weather conditions, but Woodbine's in place doing everything they can to make sure that we have safe surface, safe scenarios, safe situations. So hopefully the day goes off smoothly for the rest of the afternoon.
For everyone watching, I will just say, because of the weather and because of some technical issues, we have internet going in and out. Just, if you could, drop in the comments. Do you hear us clearly? Do you see us clearly? Let us know. We will do our best to adjust on the fly, and there's no telling what's to come. It looks like we're getting just another pouring right now. I think this will be the third or fourth time today that it's really come down pretty heavily here.
Yeah, and Emma was saying to us before about how unique this track is, and although we're talking about synthetic surfaces, because now we're all off the turf, obviously, and how that influences how she would ride a race. Now, in the UK, we're used to riding on the all-weather, but tracks all over the world react differently to these kind of adverse weather conditions. So really interesting to get into a jockey's mentality as to what that actually means and your outlook when you're going out. And even for Emma, she's not riding in this next race, obviously. She's going to be watching and reacting when she does ride later on. So it's a really interesting, it adds an interesting tactical spin on the day.
Yep, absolutely. King's Plate Day, for you, you've answered this question a million times over the year. We're going to take a look back at 2007. Before we do, what is a King's Plate Day to you?
Tradition and history. I mean, it's Canada's horse race. I've said it before, and I mean it. I say it with a lot of pride, It is the longest continuously run stakes race in North America. Like, when you stop and think about that and for what it means, that's massive. And so, to then also have been successful so early on in my career, like that's a part of history. I used to come to this racetrack as a kid. Like, I have pictures of myself sitting on the apron with the white picket fence as the horses are going by. And now I'm here. I compete on a regular basis, and it's a dream come true. So, I can't even describe into words what it means for me for this day. I mean, I'm a competitor right now, but I do see it as a fan as well. And I got to be honest, I get two of the best views in the house. One of them is when we come up onto that track at the 7/8 pole, and we look up from the horses to the grandstand, full to the brim of all the fans cheering and that anticipation. Nobody else gets to experience that. And then when the doors open and the horses all break, I'm lucky for that spot too.
Well, I need you to explain to me on the other side of this video what it was like after you crossed the finish line on this event day, Queen's Plate at the time, 2007, 17 years ago now, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? But let's take a look back at what happened Queen's Plate 2007.
Jigs Cause draws within a half a length of Alessandro. Twilight Meteor has packed it in. It is Alessandro at the quarter pole. Cable takes a peek back and sees Jigs Cause. Jigs Cause is on the outside of Alessandro at the top of the stretch. And it's Alessandro asked for everything he has. Jigs Cause is on the outside, put the left-handed pressure. Mike Fox in a third position, and include us as fourth. Alessandro, Mike Fox is coming hard on the outside. Alessandro and Mike Fox on the outside. Mike Fox got it, and Emma Jane Wilson.
Well,
it's hard to go. You know, the moment that I hit the wire, I was a little bit like, I can't believe I just did this. But I was so proud. Mike Fox was, I wouldn't have traded any horse in the race for him going in that day. I know he was a long shot 15-1, but he'd come into the race in good condition and off of a condition race win on a Wednesday night. And I think for him, the confidence that gave him, and the way it made him feel, going into the race, is one of the biggest differences for his success.
Yeah, I think it's incredible how you talk about horses as if they're so human. I've spoke to you about last year when you were riding in the Canadian International, and you were talking me through your rides then, and even just then with Mike Fox. It's different to you. You're almost getting into their heads, aren't you? What can you tell us about Jokestar?
So Jokestar is, I'm really excited that I've had a chance to ride him. Not only did I ride him in the plate trial for the first time, I got a chance to breeze him the other day. And exactly that. There's a level of personality that as a competitor, when I rode against him, I wouldn't have known, so I know his style and what he liked and how he liked to run. But to get on his back and feel him and know what he's thinking and how he, was wanting to travel and get into a rhythm and, those little idiosyncrasies, sometimes you can pick those up from the trainer. I've gone overseas and thrown my leg over horses for the first time and been successful. But that's partially because of the trainer and the crew, and they give you those personality tips. But there's nothing like having that little bit of feel, especially going into a big race like this where you have to make decisions according to what's going to be the best opportunity for them. And so now that I know him a little bit more personality-wise, and we've gotten along, I'm primed and ready.
That's awesome. And look, you've pulled the upset before, and I said to you before this, I said, well, you're riding on a horse who's not expected to win today, and you're like, well, I wasn't expected to win in 2007 either.
No. And I mean, the horses don't know the odds.
Yeah.
And really, I don't look at the odds board. And the trainers don't worry about it, because in races like this, the horses have earned the right to be there. Mm-hmm. And yes, their odds are, a derivative of their past performance, etc. But as I've said, it's about personality. Did anyone else really know that Mike Fox's confidence grew to the size of this grandstand because of that win? Maybe a few people, but I knew it, and so did he. So that's what I love about this game. It's not like driving a car. You can't boost a car's confidence. I mean, you can boost it in other ways, but that would be against the rules. Whereas in horse racing, if they have a good night's sleep, they might just wake up on the right side of the stall, and it's their day.
Yeah. Just briefly, I want to mention, we see the horses here circling sort of the indoor saddling area paddock. We are in a weather delay. It looks like they posted 7 minutes to race 6, so it looks like there is at least a target there. We do see you in the comments who are wondering what is going on. When are they running this next race? When are they running all the other races? We've already had the King's Plate pushed back to 6:45 p.m. Eastern time as a target start time, but that was before we had this most recent delay, so potentially that may get pushed back further. So be patient, stay with us. We will try to keep you entertained. If you're at home, we put the drinks away out of respect for Emma here on a race day, but we're drinking too, and as soon as she's gone, we're gonna really pop the bottles here.
You can have
on the
some.
corner.
I have a lot of willpower, and there are a lot of rules in place, but I plan on enjoying a little later when I'm finished.
Well,
hopefully I'm cracking a bottle of champagne for a victory from the King's Plate.
That's what we're saying. Hopefully a big celebration. And Maddy, we were talking about this, and you could set this up, but in the jocks room especially, Emma now having recently recently reached the milestone of becoming the all-time earnings leader amongst female jockeys. It just spectacular accomplishment. And you have some young female riders, not only in this colony, but across the country. We were talking about just kind of mentorship and how important that is.
And obviously one of the big names here is Sofia Vives. She's coming through. We know each other from the Sugar Cup, and you're very familiar with the riders over there in England. How is it like for you, sort of being a role model to these women, and do they come to you for advice, or do you have a sort of community within that? Because I mean, I've been downstairs near the jocks room. You have your own named pegs, you have your own changing rooms. It seems like things are really progressing and moving forward.
Well, Woodbine, in essence, for as long as I've been in the game, has really been a front runner in the sense of equality. I mean, and that's not just Woodbine as the grandstand, the front side. It's Woodbine in the community of the trainers and all the people on the backstretch, the acceptance of women in the game. I mean, it wasn't not too long ago, and a lot of people have been bringing up a few reminiscent memories of, where women weren't even allowed on the backstretch. So, and that's not that long ago. So to see the progression and see the successes, and not only to have the milestones and make those moments where it's significant and we can acknowledge them for what they are and the benefits, it also, we've started to move away from it being a fad. For example, I'm pretty sure, and I don't even know this because I haven't even looked it up, Sofia Vives was the first female jockey to win the Woodbine Oaks. But
yeah, I think that's right.
You think that's right? Yeah. Because it wasn't the story. The story was about her success. It wasn't about her being a female rider that won it. It was about the success as the rider, gender aside.
Is that not where we want to be? Does that feel great
and
for
that's
you?
What when I realized that was a significant thing, I went, there's another win. Like that's massive. We're jockeys. That's it. And it's horse racing, and that's what we're here for. And it's that to me was another milestone.
But do they come to you for advice much? I mean,
yes,
they lean on you?
We have, as you said, we have our dressing room where that is pretty much the only time where we're separate, is we have our space. And with the colony that we have here is so significant. There's enough riders in the room. There's constant learning and advice. I mean, I've had another young couple riders come up to me in the mornings, and they want to come into the back or come to the front side and get on our equicizer in the jocks room to learn. Teaching young riders is something I take a lot of passion doing. Like, I really enjoy it, and in a way it almost makes me a better rider because it brings me back to basics. So as an athlete, it makes you better. So it's a lot of fun. I do think that maybe one day down the road we could have an entire open co-ed room, because I think there's some level of the segregation, as you would in a dressing room, sort of takes away from those young riders. I would have loved to have sat in the jocks room with the guys when Todd Cable and Patrick Husbands in their heyday were yelling at each other for something, because just listening and observing, I'm sure I would have learned so much, you know. But I mean, that's down the road, and I'm sure it'll come.
You talk about milestones, and I wonder for you, I mean, certainly you just reached another one recently. We've talked about the King's Plate. What are some other things you have on your checklist of things you want to get done? I mean, you're still riding at the top of your game. I don't know what your future plans are. If you're like, hey, I want to do this by 50, or I want to do this, but what does that look like for you? What does Emma Jane Wilson's sort of plan look like?
I do have some goals. I mean, I'm closing in on 2,000 career victories, and so not that I'm counting them off, but I know it's slowly going in that direction, and there's no doubt in my mind that is going to get checked off. I mean, I want to win. I'm going to win my first King's Plate, preferably today. So and
ideally.
There's marquee races here at Woodbine that are close, near and dear to my heart. I mean, just mentioning the Woodbine Oaks, I would love to have that one. I remember coming to see that when I was a kid. But like, there's races where I ran second in the Breeders' Cup at Churchill Downs in 2010. I would love to be able to go and say, I won a Breeders' Cup. I'd be able to share that with Julie as well. Yeah. So there's quite a few races that are on the list. But what it really boils down to me, and what the reason I'm in this game and what I love, is being around fast horses. And when they are, even if they're not the fastest, but they try, giving me winners and giving me everything that you can and making that connection, all the other checklists will come. All the other goals will come. As long as I get a chance to throw my leg over genuine, fast-running horses, I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, from my perspective, how do you keep that enthusiasm and that drive up throughout your career? I mean, we've seen Frankie Dettori, for instance, he's made a big move now, based out in Santa Anita. He seems as rejuvenated as ever. He's saying, I should have done this years ago, riding at the top of his game. As you go through the ranks and as you spend more time in that jockey's room, is there anything that you have to sort of be conscious of to sort of keep that drive intact? Because you just seem tireless to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's really, I think, where my inspiration, where my energy comes from are the horses. Honestly, I came into this game because I loved horses, and you get to turn them loose and go as fast as they can. That's really cool. But that personality that I hit, that connection that I find, each one of them is a little bit different, and getting to know them on that level to be able to say, look, we're going to do this way because this is what's going to make you do the best. And there's those moments like in the mornings that I love where you're walking back from the track to the barn and it may be minus 20 outside, but that horse will take a stop and look, and they look up and look right at you, look right at me and say, hi, oh, hi, how's it going? Or I'll even blow in their nose as a way to, say hi, how are you going? And there's this moment in the paddock, they've got their game face on, and I'll blow in their nose. People think I'm kissing them, but I'm not. It's like I'm shaking their hand. But you watch their eye, and they go from being like, okay, game day, all this stuff's going on, and then they go, oh, hi. And there's that connection, and it's instant. That's what brings me, that's what motivates me, really.
It's freaking awesome. That's awesome. When you got up here initially a little while ago, and you were looking out at the track, and kind of just to our right here, we have people sitting, kind of taking in the day patiently. I would say, everybody's in good spirits here as we wait for what will be the sixth race here to run eventually. That clock, by the way, has wound down to 0, so we're going to get another reset here. No exact timetable for when we're going to get started here again. But when you look down there, you said, oh, this is cool. This is a unique perspective. What's that like? What's that like to kind of, do you ever think, hey, I'd like to come out here as a fan one day and just kind of take this all in?
Well, I used to come here when I was a kid, like I said, but I've never been up here. And to take the moment and sort of sneak off into the back and just enjoy the game and watch it, it's fascinating. And to be up here and look out on the track from this high up in the grandstand is a unique view, and it's like, I could do this. I could do this some more. That being said, the view I get from throw my leg over them there's nothing better than that, so I think I'll stick with that for now.
All right. Let's talk just briefly again about the King's Plate, and then we'll let you go. I mean, you're giving us way more time than we're supposed to get with you, so we're going to let you go here momentarily. Just the King's Plate, you've got joke stars. We know Mark Cassie's got a very strong hand here with My Boy Prince, Essex Serpent, and even Midnight Mascot, who's a little bit of a buzz horse this week. I know you're a rider, so obviously you've looked at this race and you've analyzed it. How do you see it shaping up, and really does the race go through those two, or is there something we're missing?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is the weather we've had, and we talked about this earlier, the way the track, even though synthetic is very consistent, there's a tendency for it to change, and when it first gets rained on, it can play a lot of heavy inside speed. So that's what I've been watching as to how it's been playing that, and I think we've hit a point of saturation where it's not going to lean in that direction. So I'm not as concerned to counter that. That being said, as it dries and it drains, which we're hoping it drains significantly in the next little while, it may get back into that. So for me, it's my horse's personality is not, his style isn't as pressing in terms of how the track is playing. He needs to build, he needs to get into a rhythm, and he needs to get confident, and he runs on. And the key thing for me and him is I don't think the 126 is going to hurt him, and I don't think the 1.25 miles is going to hurt him either. Okay. So depending on how the early pace structure, you talked about Mark having a decent hand, Exon Serpent and My Boy Prince are both forward front running style. So who's going to let the other one go, or are they going to, or are they going to go head and head? So that's
what do you think?
Well,
is it this one? I mean, Friendly Ghost. I mean, seems Justin on Friendly Ghost would seem to be the one who can do it, right?
As well as there's a horse think it's where the crowd's never gone further than 6.5.
Okay.
So there's a lot of pace presence on paper that I'm going to be watching very closely in the first quarter mile to make a plan, a more detailed plan from there.
Okay. Crazy question, and maybe is it okay to ask a jockey like to go and be, and not that I don't know, you don't know if they're going to tell you the truth, but be like, hey, what are you going? Are you sending here? Or you just don't do that. You just let the race unfold.
You generally let the race unfold. Most of us, if you've done your homework, you have a pretty good idea what they're going to do. And if you're not sure, similar to what I'm saying about Essex Serpent and my boy Prince, first jump is going to tell me everything that I need to know, like without a doubt. That being said, I remember when I was in Hong Kong, I had a very successful journeyman rider from France look over at me and say, "Are you going forward, Jock?" And I said, "In the gate." And I said, "I hadn't decided yet." He says, "Don't you think you should decide?" And I'm like, "I think I've already decided. I'm just not telling you." Then the doors opened and I said,
I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, I mean, you've got to be right. It's tactics, right? You got to be, got to be strategic, and revealing your game plan wouldn't get you anywhere. But I didn't know if it was just like, you probably have some that are just be like, well, I got no other choice. I'm sending. No mystery here.
And that really, that you can, some of them, you can pick that out and say, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But like I said, first jump out of the gate can really tell you exactly what is on their frame of mind. I mean, yesterday I rode a horse, Aim for the Sky, and the inside horse Jazz Hands. I wasn't sure if they cut the blinkers back a little bit on Jazz Hands, but I know they like to have him forward even though he breaks bad. First jump, Fraser Abley was yelling and sending. I'm like, confirmation of exactly what I thought he was going to be doing.
All right, you just got the. We need to wrap so that we can get you back down to the jockey room. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. This has been spectacular.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Thank you. Best of luck in the plate whenever it runs.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Emma Jane Wilson, folks, spectacular here to join us for a couple of minutes on King's Plate Day. An interesting, a wild, an unpredictable, and still yet to be determined when we're going to see the race, King's Plate Day. And we, we'll continue to monitor it. We've told you right now you're looking at sort of the overhead view. The skies are not clear.
Cleared up a little.
Clear for what we've been seeing. Still a little bit of darkness, but at the moment, no rain coming down. There's been some discussion about kind of how the precipitation that we've seen so far has impacted the track so far. We just had a jockey on who told us, kind of that she's monitoring the situation to see, not only for tactics, but for safety, which is the ultimate thing here. And the gentleman joining us now here, Jordan Miller, we had him on yesterday talking about the jockey that you represent, Sophia Vivas. I'm sure this is of utmost concern to you when it comes to how this track is safety-wise, some of the things that are on your mind, and when we might ultimately get restarted here.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, at the end of the day, we all want to see the races run, but safety's first. Horses, humans, everything like that. So, yeah, we have an all-weather track, but, weather is the weather, and Mother Nature wreaks havoc, and we just kind of have to adapt to it. So, right now, they're monitoring the situation, figuring out if our drainage is proper and if everything's going good, and if they feel that we can run the races safely and in everyone's best interest.
Have you ever, and we're going back here to this view here, as the horses continue to circle in the underground saddling enclosure. Have you been a part of a day like today before?
I've seen it happen like this. I mean, I was down in Saratoga actually the last couple of weeks and saw where they've had to cancel races and such like that. I mean, up here we've had to cancel races with snow or wind or stuff like that, but never on a day like this. But at the end of the day, we have to figure out what's best for everybody's well-being, horses and riders alike. So, listen, whenever the people that are making the decisions make their decision, it's going to be the best interest for everybody.
Maddy, I know you were asking some incredible questions earlier about navigating this day. We were, initially we were going to bring them on for handicapping perspective. There's so much happening now. It's like, what do we, where do we even go with this day? I don't know. If you have any other questions at this moment that are pressing about whether we're going to actually, see more racing here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know, isn't it? There's so much uncertainty, and we're just waiting on what we hear from officials. Obviously, the jockeys have been incredibly involved with the decisions that have been made too. Of course, it's their safety and the horse's safety that's put on the line. But yeah, I mean, from your perspective, obviously you're dealing with jockeys who, highly strung athletes who are primed to the minute for this day in particular. Is there anything you can do at this stage to sort of put their mind at rest, or is your communication finished with them at this point?
No, it's 100% out of my hands and people like me's hands. And like I said, it's going to come down to jockeys. It's going to come down to the officials, the vets, track personnel to see what is in the best case for everybody, and whatever they deem is the best thing is what we're going to have to go by.
And have you seen anything like this here before? Is this common?
We've had to cancel many times before. If it's the wind is too high, we get snow in the track. Like, canceling for us isn't like completely out of the realm. Canceling for us on King's Plate Day.
I did it earlier, don't worry about it.
He did it in the intro.
That's completely different.
I opened up the wrong way.
Normally, Mother Nature likes to give us a sunny afternoon and about like an hour or 30 minutes before the Queen's Plate or King's Plate hits us with rain just to show us that she's there and then moves on. But for what we've seen today, since I've been out here, I haven't seen this before.
All right. Well, we are gonna jump into some handicapping. We'll call it for the proverbial upcoming races. We'll jump into some handicapping. Before we do, we've been saying Queen's Plate a lot. So 2 of the last 3 years, well, until last year, it was the Queen's Plate. You've got some interesting history, and I want you to kind of take us through some of it. And after you do, we're going to take a look back at a couple of recent Queen's and King's Plates.
Yeah, so hopefully that will give us some insight into how this year's race is going to be run. Obviously, this is my first King's Plate, so I'm still learning too. But it's $1 million race. It's the oldest continually run stakes race in North America, which is incredible. There's so much history attached to it. And obviously, as you've touched upon there, Dan, was named historically in honour of the Queen, Elizabeth II, and now it's the King's Plate after her passing in 2022. It's the first leg of the Canadian Triple Crown, which is hugely exciting. It's a bit delayed compared to the American version, slightly different, but we like to do things differently in Canada. Then we've got the Prince of Wales Stakes run at Fort Erie and the Breeders' Stakes back here at Woodbine. And 12 horses have won that Triple Crown. So the last was to do it in 2003, that was Wando. And also, key angle to this year's race, Caitlin Her Greatness is the only filly. And the last filly to win it was Moira in 2022 for Kevin Attard. The trainer's back. He's got another filly, second in the Woodbine Oaks last time. She just seems to be building all the time. They seem to do really well in this race for whatever reason. I think when I spoke to Kevin about this yesterday, he touched upon the time of year and the way the horses are brought into the races. It can advantage the fillies, which I think is really interesting. We often talk about weather and time of year and hormones, etc. with the fillies, and clearly this race plays to their strengths. So I know you expect Caitlin Her Greatness to be involved again.
I really do, and we're going to touch on a little bit more of that momentarily. For now, let's take a quick look back at the past 3 years here at Woodbine on Queen's/King's Plate.
Trying to get a run is Hadassah on the inside. Money for Rose finishing on. Safe Conduct at the top of the stretch, joined by Keep Grinding. Hadassah down in the centre, running on his Avo Man. It's now Keep Grinding coming. Safe Conduct, Keep Grinding. HC Holiday down the outside as well with Money for Rose, but Safe Conduct in front, and here's Riptide Rock. Riptide Rock flying down the outside. I think Safe Conduct narrowly from Riptide Rock, and in the blink of an eye has raced to the front, and it's Moira out in the lead 2 lengths. Racing home is Hall of Dreams down the outside, but the mighty filly has devastated them, and the 163rd Queen's Plate is a big win for Moira. She is stunning, wins 6 lengths. Hall of Dreams second, Surfer Short as they turn the Mark Cassie pair in front. Paramount Prince, Elysian Field, Velocitor kicking on, and here's Javier Castellano. Stanley House trying to run them down. Paramount Prince in front, a furlong to run, dashed away for Patrick Husbands. Elysian Field in second, Stanley House in third, but Paramount Prince, Prince becomes the king. Paramount Prince wins the 164th King's Plate.
So that you mentioned Moira. We got to see Moira there as one of, as we mentioned, the 38 fillies who have won this King's Plate, which is quite unique. Again, the American Triple Crown has a very different look in that it starts earlier, and that also there have only been a couple of fillies who've won the Derby, for example. So a unique situation here with this race, and on this day with weather and other obstacles. We are currently in a weather delay. We are a couple minutes out from the 6th race. This was supposed to be a couple of minutes out from an allowance 9th race, and we were going to do analysis on that with the upcoming Catch a Glimpse Stakes and then ultimately the King's Plate. The last word we have is that the King's Plate is still on track to be run around 6:45. Using some common sense here, the 6:45 mark and target is probably not going to happen because there are 5 races between now and the King's Plate. And so we are still in that weather delay. We will let you know how things go there. This does give us an opportunity to kind of transition into some other conversation here, and you mentioned to me about the sales and having a discussion on that front. So take us into it, because I don't even know much about the sale.
I'd just like to say a little bit about our local sale here that we have here at the end of August, and there's 5 horses in the King's Plate this year that have graduated from our sale that happens here at the end of August. So it's a really good sale. It's good to support local, get our Ontario breds, Ontario sires here. If you don't have your local horses in any jurisdiction, you don't have racing. So it's really good to support local, and you can still hit a home run even though you're getting Ontario sires, Canadian bred horses from our local sales. So I believe it's August 28th, and it'd be good for people to come out and just see and support how our local industry is run.
You mentioned Saratoga a few moments ago, and being up there, a couple of weeks ago when they canceled, or last week, I've lost track of time, whenever that was. Obviously, they also had the sale there recently, the Fasig-Tipton sale, and that's more than just a sale. That's a party, right? It's like a public event people come to, and you don't need like any special ticket. You can go in and attend and mingle and do that. How is it here? I mean, can anyone actually go, or what does it look like?
Anyone can walk in the door. It's the exact same thing. It's very welcoming. They have food and beverages there for sale. You can walk through, you can look at the horses, you can go in, take part in the sale, watch everything, and it's actually really well done, and it's very inviting for everybody.
Do you need to get that, knowing there's a lot of stuff going on? Do you need to get that? You can step off for a second. So step off. Take a second. Step off, and we'll bring you back on in a moment here. So obviously,
his jockey was calling.
His jockey was calling him, and who knows? He may come back with an update here momentarily from the jocks room, and that would be interesting insight. I don't know if he's going to be allowed to share it, but that'll be interesting. This has been. Although it's somewhat stressful, this has been actually a lot of fun.
It has. I've certainly never experienced anything like it. We talk about how different tracks behave. I can't recall this ever happening in the UK. Maybe races in the winter, over the jumps, for instance, if it's snowy, icy, etc. They can be rescheduled, postponed to a different day. Yeah. But in terms of just delays, I couldn't recall this happening. Certainly not to the weather, but obviously when there are. First, we have the thunderstorms, which are going to play havoc with all the electronics and a lot of the logistics of hosting a race day. So that's clearly something to consider. And then, of course, safety is paramount. And Emma was explaining to us earlier a little bit about concerns she had with the track and explaining why some of the jockeys had been out there already assessing the conditions. So obviously, if there is any doubt whatsoever, that has to be investigated. It is clearing up weather-wise at the moment, but we're not down there on the track. We can't see it for ourselves, so we have to rely on the information that's been given to us. But we've gone through all the emotions today. You've been here on King's Plate Day before. How are you feeling? Have you seen anything like this in the States?
Certainly nothing like this on a day. And we do see people in the comments who are saying, please tell us what's happening, what's going on. There are people in rooms here around Woodbine at the executive level taking in every bit of data from, the moisture in the ground to looking at the radar and the incoming forecast, who are trying to make the best decision, not only for the jockeys and the horses, but also for a lot of people who are watching here, who are the horse players and who are betting and are trying to figure out, what should I do should I move on? Should I do something else? Should I plan to be here for how much longer? You know, as we know, the races that were scheduled for the turf are already off the turf, so that's out of play. So if you are handicapping and ready to to wager and watch, you're handicapping for everything on the main track here, the all-weather track. Now, when will they run these races? How many of these races will be run? We do not yet know, but we're waiting on that information. We anticipate we'll have that information here sooner rather than later. It's been about a good hour since we've had a race run here. And if I'm seeing this correctly, it does appear, I do not see jockeys on these horses.
Nope.
It does appear these horses are being brought back to the barn area, I would suspect. And, at a minimum, again, we have 5 races between what were scheduled from here to the King's Plate. One option would be canceling some of the earlier races or other races, not canceling the entire card. Another option would be not canceling anything and just moving the schedule back today.
Yeah.
But we understand that for those watching, it's a frustrating experience. You've carved out time today to watch the races on WAGER. Is it? Okay. Okay. It's not. Is it confirmed as far as you know? That's what you're hearing? Okay. All right. Thank you. Is this yours? Are you taking it? All right. Well, good seeing you for a couple minutes. We'll catch. Yeah, we'll catch up. All right. So we have some unconfirmed information. Okay, now we can confirm it. Okay. We are canceled. So racing here on King's Plate Saturday is canceled. I believe they're making an announcement now over the PA. Okay. We'll see if we can effort a little bit more information here for those watching. Do we have any information on rescheduled anything? So okay. All right. So we are efforting to get more information for you. What we do know at this moment is that racing today, King's Plate Day, has been canceled after just 5 races have been run due to weather and track conditions. We hope to know in the next little while when this day will be rescheduled.
Oh, that's just gutting, isn't it? I mean, obviously the right decision has been reached.
Yeah.
If all the professionals who have been involved, the officials have been involved, they know a lot more than we do right now. So we have to trust that decision's been made in everyone's best interest. But, super excited for this day's racing. We had some great races as well as the King's Plate. It's a great shame, and I'm sure people watching and listening at home are going to be incredibly disappointed, as are we. But we have to understand that there is a bigger picture going on here. Safety must come first. And actually we can hear boos now being coming from the crowd just next to us, which is it's a shame and it's sad to sum up that atmosphere. But clearly racegoers feeling very incredibly frustrated, Dan. But we just have to see that bigger picture.
100%. Look, you flew in from England for this day, and a lot of people have made special arrangements to be here specifically for this. So the frustration is absolutely understandable. But we are just, we're in a position where you cannot expect that there will be any chances taken when it comes to safety. And if the track is not 100% safe to run in, they're just not going to run. And so that is that. And again, we do see in the comments, and we appreciate everyone who's tuned in and who's kind of leaned on us for information as well throughout the day. We appreciate all the feedback and all the questions. If you have additional questions, we will try to get them answered. In the meantime, we had a full show. We had a 3-hour show planned for you. We're going to show you a bunch of races. We have been adjusting on the fly. One of our guests that was scheduled to come on today was our good friend Sean Patrick Nolan, who waited patiently for the past hour, monitoring the situation, waiting to see if his hit time would come. And although this is not as we expected, we got to say hey to you and give you a chance to say hey to the people out there.
Hey everybody, it's always a pleasure to join you guys. So thanks for coming to have me on.
And tell the people who don't know you, unfamiliar with you, where you're from, and what it is that actually, because I know you love Woodbine racing, but you love Mohawk too. You love everything about racing out here.
Yeah, what's really cool about Woodbine is that they've really become kind of like a racing family to me on both sides of the thing, both Mohawk and I do daily picks on Twitter for Mohawk, and with Woodbine, the whole backstretch, everybody, they're just like a family to me. So to come up here is always a great time to see them. And it's a shame with what's happened today, but safety is always the best protocol for the animals and the people, and for that I'm grateful. But always great to see my people up here.
That's
Do you know the great thing, Dan? The race isn't going to be run in a couple of hours now. We're all right. All our predictions are right.
That's true. We haven't been wrong yet.
we haven't been wrong. All our beliefs about what was going to have in the King's Plate, that happened.
It could, and we could still talk about it. We'll see how the race holds. Greg, I'll ask this to Greg. If you have an opportunity, I think it's fascinating if we can get a shot of the folks here still sitting here and kind of just hanging out. All right, we'll go to the overhead shot for a moment here. You could get a view, and you can even see down below when we go to the overhead shot, you'll get a view of, so we're not yet on the overview shot. Okay, we're moving to this one. So basically, just wanted to show you, the people here are not leaving. They're like, we paid for a day at the races, we're here, and we're going to make the most of this. We're going to hang out here, and so even if we got shorted, the back half of this card, a lot of people still having drinks, mingling, and just kind of making the most of really what has turned into an unfortunate day with the cancellation here. But there are a lot of people here, and
it just proves what a social event racing is, isn't it? Even if there isn't any racing on, which we haven't seen now for some time. Okay, we're just hearing from disgruntled punters now. We can understand that. We can totally understand the frustration. But it's clearly a very unique scenario. We haven't seen anything like this before. I certainly haven't in my time in racing. But racing is a social event. People are here. They're here to drink. They're here to enjoy themselves. They're here to bet. They can't do that right now. But they're clearly, this is what they plan to do with their day out. So they're going to have to make new plans. But it just shows that it was such a huge event, and it's a shame that it isn't going to happen to people today. But they're not leaving just yet.
No.
This is actually the first time I've actually hit the late pick 6 ever at Woodbine, which was actually exactly, I broke even. So that's but it's, you can only do what's best for the animals and what's best, and that's what's best for the
I do want to show just briefly, and we're kind of on the fly here, kind of reproducing this show, and essentially looking for more information before we sign off, because we'd like to leave you. If we do hear of a rescheduling, we want to give that to you. So we're going to hang here for a few more moments and try to see if we can get any more information that we could pass along to you regarding.
I was with Robin down on the track.
Okay.
And the water on the all-weather track was just amazing, and right behind the finish line were huge puddles, and also the tunnel was where the horses were coming over was starting to get flooded too. So on safety on both sides for the horses, it would be a struggle for both of them. And I think that's kind of where the safety issue was coming in.
And the thing is, you'd always rather a decision. Obviously, it's frustrating, people having to wait. And as the guy who just sort of accosted us said, people have come from far and wide to get here. So it is frustrating. But you'd always rather that this decision was made before an accident happened, or God forbid anything like that. So 100%. we have to understand that there is very, very high stakes at play here, and it's a bigger picture thing, and safety comes into it. It's paramount, as we keep repeating. Yeah,
I do have a note here that came through a little while ago about expecting an official release to be coming soon. So we'll try to hang on with you a little while longer to kind of give you information if you're wondering about whether you're watching on your phone here on site or whether you're watching at home. Give you an idea of what happens if you bought a ticket to this day. Can you, when do you come back? When can you use that ticket? Can you get a refund? All those questions. We'll see a lot of that to be answered. Also, the wagering information is important. You want to know If you've got bets in, what does it mean for your bets? All the rest of that. So we'll try to get you that information. A moment ago, though, we did talk about some of the things that have changed here at Woodbine over the past year, and we had a unique opportunity to speak with Michael Copeland, who now oversees this racetrack, and he gave us a little bit of a tour around and kind of showed us some of the things that are new here. So as we await more information on what this cancellation means, let's take a look at some of the things here that have changed at Woodbine over the past year.
I think that the first thing that's new that you can see when you walk through the grandstand and out on the apron is just the new spaces we have. We're trying to just reimagine what it means to come to the races and create spaces that deliver upon that. And this is called the Home Stretch Bar, so what we've created is a space for people to get together and have some great food and have some drinks right on the track. Getting anyone close to the action, there's really nothing like it in sports to be so close to the horses coming down the stretch. So this is really excited about this, and this builds on what we've been able to do in the last couple of years with our Stella Artois Terrace, which is a more casual way to take the races in, and a bit more of entertainment focus than I think what you'd normally see in some of these viewing areas. We're northwest of Toronto, and we sit on a 600-acre site which we have designs to turn into a new city. Now that's a few years away, but we've had the starting pieces of that. And the first piece of that was the development of the new 400,000 square foot casino and hotel and amphitheater right on the track side, overlooking the track. I think when you come here, you've got fantastic racing. You can experience it in sort of new, exciting ways. You've got access to the casino. We're close to the airport. 5 minutes from the Pearson Airport. And then if you have some time, a couple days around it, we're very close to downtown, so take in everything that Toronto has to offer. We know what racing has been for the last 100 plus years. What can it be for the next 10, 20, 30, 50 plus years? And how can we be on the front foot to create that vision and to bring it to people? And I think we're seeing the fruits of our labor. People are responding to it. And that's really, really exciting.
So we've been absolutely amazed at the facilities here and the things that have changed. You visited once before last year, and you were impressed then, but seeing all the additions has also been really nice.
Yeah, it's been so different for me. Racing, obviously, we know the essence of it is the same, but that's why I'm such a big follower of international racing, because you learn so much about different jurisdictions and how they do things differently. And certainly here in Canada, things are done very differently to back home in the UK, and that can illuminate so much of your punting. And as Emma was saying, in that when she's teaching younger jockeys, that helps her. And I think, the more you can experience in horse racing across the world, that can inform your punting, the way you view the sport, how the sport's run in different ways. And from my experiences, clearly a lot's done right here at Woodbine. It's just an incredible place. It's a historic place, but also there's a real drive here to improve facilities, to improve experiences for everyone. It's a shame that obviously people aren't going to be getting the experience that they hope for today, but who knows? Maybe the races could return tomorrow. That's just one of the possibilities. We're just speculating at the moment. We're waiting to find out more information as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, we're hitting refresh here on our phones, waiting to see if anyone has information here to share with us, and if they do, of course, we'll pass it along to you. We have a sort of a group thread here that we've been following the past couple of days, really.
I'll tell you what, should we have a look back at the King's Plate and let's preview it a bit more, and let's see if we can talk about what we think is going to happen when the race
is run, if it holds together. Yeah,
let's talk about it. Who was your pick? You came down on the filly, I think, in the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought she would run big, Caitlin, her greatness, but also Essex Serpent for me, one of the Cassie entrants, the 3-horse. I feel and I felt and I still feel it was the horse with the highest ceiling coming in. This is a horse who, in just his third race, when you talk about speed figures and those sorts of things, he posted a 100 equibase speed figure. That number is the top number for any horse in this race, and he did that in just his third race. So what does race 4 and race 5 hold for a horse like Essex Serpent? I think there's potential, some real potential there in terms of this horse's ability. And my boy Prince, certainly the one with the longest resume. If this race is run tomorrow. If this race, and tomorrow may be difficult. I don't know that they could run this back tomorrow, so we'll see. There are certain logistics and certainly stateside when it comes to medication administration and all the rest of it, that may make it difficult for them to run this tomorrow. But I will say, whenever this race is run, if this field holds, I still think it comes down to a matchup between Essex Serpent and My Boy Prince, sort of the established star and the up-and-coming star in the Cassie Barn.
Okay, and My Boy Prince, his form is, been advertised internationally. We saw him third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year, so if there are any sort of European people watching, they'll be familiar with that form, more familiar than his King's Plate trial win last time. That came obviously here at Woodbine. It wasn't his most impressive success. I personally found it a little bit underwhelming. If you look at the figures that he posted, that certainly wasn't anywhere near his best in that trial last time. But ultimately, if he was going to bring his best to the King's Plate, then he would certainly have the legs of this field on what we already know. It was just a case of, is he going to produce that effort? I was certainly going to take him on. Who knows how it would have panned out with how the track's been riding, but I like to try and find a horse at bigger odds, and there were two actually that I was quite interested in. My reading of the race was that there could be some pace, it could be decent. I had Essex Serpent, one of your fancies, going forward for sure. We saw that from him in the Marine Stakes last time, where he pretty much made all, and possibly Friendly Ghost, who's been ridden different ways in the past, going forward. Expect My Boy Prince to be close enough behind them, and I was hoping that would play into the hands of both Midnight Mascot, one of the Mark Cassie runners, who sort of came into this as a dark horse. Really encouraging effort last time, staying on strongly when ridden slightly differently, and also one of the most intriguing horses in the field for me, incredibly lightly raced, just the two starts, from Graffaroo. And I think he's just an absolutely fascinating horse, and he was definitely on my short list. Then you've got to involve the filly, Friendly Ghost himself. There's certain lines of form that you could give him a chance to, but as I say, this race, the picture of this race is two halves. Does My Boy Prince show up? And if he does, and if conditions suit, he should win on what we know. But if he doesn't, there's a whole other field to play, exactors, exotics, place bets, which I'm often a big fan of, and I definitely think there was some value to be had there, Dan.
Yeah, I like how bold you're being with your predictions, knowing that the race is not going to be run today and that you can't be wrong
exactly.
today.
That's the beauty of it.
You got lots of strong opinions.
But if the race is run, we can preview it for people at home who, we still want to hear your thoughts. Hopefully the race will be saved. And this is half of the fun of racing, is we get to discuss our opinions. Today we're not going to be proved right or wrong, but certainly we're going to get in deep to what this race, what we think it would look like, and how we see it playing out. And we both have a different view, and it's still a very interesting field, and I hope we can see some of these horses internationally as we go out through the season as well.
Just a comment here from JD. While it's update for everyone, Woodbine should be commended for putting safety of the human and equine athletes first. 100%. And that's really what we've been trying to drive home on a day where we realize clearly a lot of people watching this show in particular, are clearly going to be disappointed about having plans changed, and especially if you came out to the track today, you dressed up, you spent money, you want to know what's going on. But knowing Woodbine and knowing how they take care of their customers, I have no doubt that the customers who are on site will be properly taken care of. And those at home, in terms of wagering and getting ready for whenever this race is run, you'll have that information in plenty of time to lay out your bets and lay out your handicapping and hopefully, as we just discussed a moment ago, hopefully the King's Plate itself remains largely intact, because it did set up to be a very interesting race with a couple of clear-cut favorites and then a mix of horses who are going to make it interesting in terms of betting your trifectas and superfectas and so on. So still a lot to be determined. We've been here over the past, I would say, 20-30 minutes or so, really what we call in this world, in the streaming and broadcast world, stretching.
Filling for our lives.
We are filling. we are trying to, because we could just go off air now, But in all honesty, we want to be here in case there's an update to pass along to you in the next couple of minutes. At some point, well, common sense will have to set in, and we'll have to say, look, we've got to just call it for now, and we'll advise you to keep an eye on Woodbine's social media channels and our social media channels for updates. But at the moment, what we know is that the race card is canceled. No announcement as of yet regarding when these races will be rescheduled. So we want to get you that information. If we can do it in the next 5 minutes or so while we're live, we'll do that. If not, again, we'll probably direct you to Woodbine and to ABR social media channels for updates as they become available.
Yeah, indeed. It's sad, one of the videos that we were going to play out was from when I went to visit Mark Cassey yesterday morning. Obviously, legendary Canadian trainer, has won the plate many times. He's got some real strength and depth in this year's field, as we know. And one of the questions I asked him, I don't know if we still want to play the clip or not, was what this race means to Canadians, and even for myself coming here and not experiencing it before. Why is it so special? And we've touched on some of those statistics at the start of the show about, obviously it's $1 million race, but also there's so much history attached, and these are races that, as Emma mentioned earlier on in the show, she watched growing up, and that's really formed part of the fabric of who she is as a rider and her ambitions. She was lucky enough to win it back in 2007. And yeah, I think it's sad for the owners of all these horses, but hopefully they'll still get their day and they'll be back out on track soon.
Yeah, let's actually take a listen to that, because I thought that was a great interview, and I loved hearing what Mark had to say. So for those watching at home, let's take a listen.
If you're a Canadian, you've grown up hearing about the King's Plate and the Queen's Plate. It's a big deal. I can remember, and your memory, and my best memory of it is when Lexi Lou won. And I'll tell you what, Dan Lozelle was the announcer, and about the half-mile pole, he said, and Lexi Lou makes her move.
And the Oaks winner, Lexi Lou, is about to make her presence felt, and Wee Miss Artie starts to unwind from the back of the pack as they come over to the quarter pole, and it becomes a test of courage in the final quarter mile. And here comes Lexi
and the crowd was as loud as I've ever heard it. In fact, Dan later told me, he said when they did, he said it took him back, and I can remember the next day seeing my wife and my son. We're on all the TVs. We're in every newspaper, Canadian newspaper, and I think that tells you right there how important the King's Plate is.
Holiday and Lexi Lou has taken the lead. They are in the last 16th of a mile. The filly was fabulous this afternoon. Lexi Lou wins the 155th running of the Queen's Plate.
And of course, the first of three Mark Cassey Queen's Plate / King's Plate winners, looking for his fourth when this 165th running of the King's Plate actually happens, and has a very strong hand between Essex Serpent, My Boy Prince, and Midnight Mascot. So we'll see how that unfolds.
I was so spoiled as well yesterday, getting to see Mark, because it gave me the opportunity to ask him about another one of his flying fillies, which I'm very familiar with, which is Tepin, who of course won the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot good couple of years ago now, and I was asking Mark about his enthusiasm for international racing and would he ever come back to Royal Ascot again, and his answer was an emphatic yes. But interestingly, he also said that he just wasn't familiar with the kind of horse that was required to undertake such a challenge. Tepin, clearly we know that she was absolutely outstanding, Dan, in everything that she did. And again, that was one of my highlights of that year of Royal Ascot. It was just spectacular to see her strut her stuff. And when horses can transfer their form to a range of conditions, I think it really adds so much to their legacy. We've seen it this year at Royal Ascot with the likes of Asphora coming over and winning the Old King's Stand, the King Charles Stakes. And yeah, like I say, we know that My Boy Prince has been to the Breeders' Cup and performed incredibly admirably when third in that juvenile turf. So hopefully we will get to see these horses fight another day. But yeah, great to have the opportunity to interview Mark. I think it's a fascinating way to run a stable, is the fact that he's so dominant, so successful, and also he's got horses based all over the states. It must take an incredibly dedicated team. It's all about the team. Mark himself obviously is such a figurehead and clearly is running the shop, but you've got to rely on a huge workforce in order to be able to pull off such a business. And at the end of the day, that's what he is. He's training racehorses, but he's also managing a business, and it was really great to get his insight on that.
Yeah, and it is a massive team, and they're everywhere, right? And it's seasonal, right? I mean, you're in Florida, you're in Kentucky, you're in New York, you're here, you're everywhere. So, it's quite an operation. I mean, running a business is putting it lightly, or it's like you're running a corporation, and you have multiple businesses along the way. Just to confirm, nothing yet, right? No additional information, just the cancellation. Let's see, we're trying
just
to...
waiting on some information here from our very trusted people at Woodbine from behind the scenes.
Can you get on? Do you have an opportunity? Can you get on? All right. So
Let's do this.
We will bring on Lindsay Bax from Woodbine here, and rather than speculate, we will we will have you give us the most complete. What we've shared at this moment with the audience is that, as we know, the races 6 through 13 rather have been canceled. We are waiting on information regarding rescheduling. Do you have any information on that front, and what do you know about what the timeline might look like for when we might hear more?
Yeah, I think the powers that be here are working with all of the agencies that are required to reschedule the race. It will be rescheduled at some point in the near future. Our Vice President of Racing, Tim Lawson, he's working hard right now with the AGCO to get all the regulations squared away and whatnot. But there will be an announcement here in the near future from the leadership here at Woodbine about when to reschedule, what it's going to look like. It's just, it's the right call for the horses. It's the right call for the jockeys and the safety of everyone. We've taken on an awful lot of rain around here today, which is incredibly unprecedented. But, the team's working really hard. It's obviously wasn't the day we were hoping for. We have an amazing crowd out here today.
Some of them still here.
Yeah. The bars are still open here. So, it is, unfortunately, it's an outdoor sport. Yeah. And, sometimes Mother Nature has other plans for us, and today it is what it is. So
Eddie Olczyk said, "Mother Nature still undefeated."
Absolutely.
And look, and you touched on it a little bit there. I mean, for those watching, and we've seen you in the comments, and we hear you, it's a frustrating day for fans, for players, for people who are here on track, and also if you're watching from home and you planned on wagering and so forth and so on. But clearly, Woodbine as an entity, first preference was absolutely to continue racing, right? I mean, you want this day. You want this day as scheduled. This benefits no one really, other than you have this overriding concern for safety.
110%. I mean, we would love to get this in. Unfortunately, I mean, even right now, the sun is peeking out here, but there's more rain coming.
Yeah.
And, when an all-weather track can't handle the all-weather rains, it's unfortunate. And but this is horse racing. We do care about the animals. We care about the safety of everybody, and we can race another day just as easy as today. And the crowd here has been incredible, and they've hung around and hopefully they come back again and watch the 165th running of the King's Plate at a date to be determined.
TBD, and we'll look out for a statement and a release here at some point. We have been sort of stretching here in the hopes of being able to share with you any information that we could about rescheduling, but it does seem like this may take a little while, and so in the interest of not keeping everyone hanging around and us repeating ourselves for much longer, I think we're at the point of the day where we could say we know what we know, which is that unfortunately racing has been canceled today at Woodbine on King's Plate Day 2024, what will be the 165th running of the King's Plate. And this race and the remainder of the card, including the stakes races that we had upcoming, including the King Edward Stakes, I know we're interested in seeing the Catch a Glint Stakes was another one we were really excited about. So there are some stakes races stakes races still to be run in addition to the King's Plate. Those will all be run at a later date, and when we get that information, we will let you know exactly when that will be. I do want to give a shout out to our guys behind the set who have braved the weather themselves and went around and not only shot video the past couple of days to utilize for the show, some of which we've squeezed in. Alex Probst, I see you. I see you up there.
Also tried to keep me calm when I was terrified during the thunderstorms earlier.
Yeah, they're therapists. They're our bodyguards. They do it all. JD Mitchell and Greg Charkoudian behind these two main cameras here that you see, running cables in, out, around, all around us, and making sure that that we're safe and that the show looks good and that we were still able to transmit to you in crystal clear HD and clear audio as well. And I've got to thank, of course, Maddy Playle, who didn't miss a beat in what were obviously different kinds of circumstances here today.
It was only possible due to you, Dan. Look, it is a real shame, but as we keep repeating, it's happened for the right reasons. It's still been a pleasure to be here. This is horse racing. We said it at the start of the show. We said it when we were trying to re-handicap all these races after the rain earlier. You have to adapt. You have to go with it, and we can only deal with the information that we've been given. So yeah, I echo that, and also thanks to everyone at Woodbine for making it such a memorable trip, and I hope the race can be saved, and we'll see the horses back out on track very soon.
Absolutely, and one of those people, of course, Lindsay here. Thank you again for everything this week and this weekend, and then thank you again for popping on with us for a few minutes here to give an update.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. We know we always love having America's Best Racing here at Woodbine. We're looking forward to having you guys back in a couple weeks for the Turf Champions Day, where we have 4 Grade 1 stakes. We're hoping to get another race card in tonight, so we're going to go play a little, hopefully, if all goes well, we're going to play a little Woodbine Standardbred
nice.
Tonight. We've got some Peaceful Way and William Wellwood eliminations, so some of the best 2-year-olds in North America on the Standardbred side.
All right.
Hopefully we can dry things out by then and have another great night of racing. But, it's an unfortunate day, but you know what? Everybody here is are hardy people, and we will run the 165th running another day here soon.
Yep, absolutely. So again, thank you for everyone who's been with us all day. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all the comments and questions. We hope we've been able to answer as many of those as humanly possible with the information that we know. And then I will say from now, as we sign off, keep an eye on our social media channels, at ABR Live on Twitter X, at Woodbine TV on Twitter X, and then also the Woodbine and America's Best Racing Instagram, Facebook. What else am I missing? TikTok. What else is out there? Have I covered it all?
All right. Tell me.
Follow all those channels, and you will get the updates you need here on rescheduling of this King's Plate card. So for now, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you.